Hi, my name is Justina Marino, and this is my screencast project number 1. So let's begin. In this first part of the presentation, we'll be talking about the history of learning disabilities. So first we need to define it. According to Harwell and Jackson, a learning disability, or otherwise known as LD, is a term currently being used to describe a group of neurological conditions that interfere with a person's learning. So now we'll look at the history of learning disabilities. We see in the 1940s, there's medical research being done on people's brains to see just what's going on. And then in the 60s, more research is being done on dyscalculia, dyslexia, dysgraphia, and students are starting to get services. And then we have the formation of the ACLD in 1963. And then Congress passes the first law and more acts so we can see more services are being provided for students with learning disabilities. And then in the 80s, more research is being done for reading disabilities, math disabilities, and writing disabilities. And then we have the passing of IDEA, and then it gets reauthorized in 1997. So more and more services are being provided. So then we should talk about the 5 leaders of learning disabilities. First, we have Louis Braille, which he is the creator of Braille and an educator of the blind. He wanted to bridge the gap between sighted people and blind people. And then we have Edward Miner Gaudet. He founded the first college for students who are deaf. Um, he wasn't deaf himself, but he had training from his father. Then we have John F. Kennedy. He was an advocate for special education. He signed legislation in support of people with disabilities, and he passed laws for more training for special education teachers. And then we have Gunnar de Blad. Um, he helped in the 1972 case of PARC versus Pennsylvania, which this resulted in laws to give students with disabilities FAPE. And then we have Dr. Grace Fernald. She pioneered different modalities for students like visual, auditory, kinesthetic, tactile instruction. Her work was actually based off of adults with learning disabilities. So that's pretty awesome. So now we'll go down into different laws. We'll look at this public law 94-142 in section 504 and what the differences are between them. So public law, it is entitled the Education of All Handicapped Children Act, and it was passed in 1975. It guarantees that each handicapped child from ages 3 to 21 would receive a free and appropriate education in the least restrictive environment. Um, it gives children with learning disabilities um, the chance to be educated in a regular classroom, and it was later entitled and expanded into IDA, which is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So Section 504, it is a civil rights act to prevent discrimination against those with disabilities. It has less specific criteria and doesn't require parent consent. It requires a plan set by school districts and is enforced by the U.S. Office of Civil Rights. Um, Eligibility under this plan is based on an impairment which substantially limits one or more of major life activities, such as caring for oneself, walking, seeing, hearing, speaking, breathing, learning, and working. And this plan gives a child accommodations they may need to get through the day. So casual factors and incident factors of learning disabilities. The casual factors is that learning disabilities can be inherited. It could be due to complications during pregnancy, delivery, or if they are premature. Um, it could be conditions that are from prenatal or postnatal natal trauma, and then it could also be the early exposures to neurotoxins. Here's some facts for the incident factors. 5 to 15% of the school population is identified as LD. LD in Japan and China is only 1%. LD in Venezuela is 33%. 3 to 8% of children have ADHD in the United States. 1 in 150 children have autism. 1 in 94 boys are diagnosed with autism, and more boys than girls are identified with LD. Um, why do you think this is? Um, According to the book, it says possibly because males are more susceptible to brain damage prenatally or postnatally, and males can be more um, disruptive in class, so they can get more attention from the teacher than females do. Um, let's look at the primary characteristics of learning disabilities. So there are two of these primary characteristics. There's perceptual deficit and problems with reading. For perceptual deficit, they're very common. They're not caused by deficits in visual or hearing, and they occur because the brain is misinterpreting sensory information. For problems with reading, it's a deficit in phonological processing. In school, or skills that are included in this are awareness and ability to tease out sounds within words, ability to learn these symbols of the language and to recall their sounds quickly, and it's the ability to generalize the information to a variety of oral, written, or reading skills. So now we'll talk about the three co-occurring conditions. An individual with LD may be further handicapped because of these conditions. So there is ADHD, CD, and TS. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity. Some symptoms of it is distractibility, forgetfulness, inattention, or having a short fuse. Now we'll move on to CD, which is conduct disorder. This may look like a lack of respect for others. You could see a cruelty to animals, lying, breaking of rules intentionally, or a denial of responsibility. And then we'll move on to TS, which is Tourette's syndrome. This is an inherited neurological disorder. Is characterized by involuntary motor tics or vocal tics or even both. When looking at this for an IEP, it should be labeled OHI or other health impaired. So when looking at learning disabilities, it's important to talk about the programs and settings in LRE, which is least restrictive environment. Public schools should provide a variety of programs to assist children with LD. If we're looking at different age groups of children from birth to age 3, the school should provide counseling, the locating of needed services, and even advice. Parents can be referred to early intervention services. This could be through their family doctor, and from there they can decide to create an IFSP, which is the Individual Family Service Plan. Then from elementary to high school, there should be a variety of settings to get services. and the child should receive special education services within the regular classrooms for LRE. And the student should receive an IEP, which is an individualized education plan or program, and this is where a group of people will determine the amount and type of service the child may need to make progress.